This story deeply touches me. It's about the profound pain of abandonment and the incredible, resilient strength of someone who decides, against all odds, to rewrite their own destiny. As Eleanor Grace, the protagonist of this tale, I'm going to share this deeply personal journey with you. Prepare yourself, because some truths are harsh, raw, and difficult to confront, but the ultimate freedom and peace they bring are truly invaluable, a treasure beyond measure. If this story resonates with you, if you find a piece of yourself in my words, please don't hesitate to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories like this. Your support means the world to me, and it helps these narratives reach others who might need to hear them. My life, for as long as I can remember, has been an open book, every page dedicated, meticulously, to my children, Ricardo and Patricia. Since the day I became a widow, almost 20 agonizing years ago, they didn't just become a part of my world. They became the absolute, undeniable center of my entire universe. Every single decision I made, every penny I painstakingly saved, every personal dream I reluctantly put on hold, every fleeting desire I suppressed, it was all, unequivocally, for them. I, Eleanor Grace, gave up so many things that once brought me joy. The adventurous trips I had always dreamed of taking with my husband, the intellectual courses I yearned to start, the quiet hobbies I longed to pursue, even the possibility of a new relationship, a companionship that could have brought warmth and joy into my later, often solitary years. All of it, every single sacrifice, was made with one singular, unwavering goal: to ensure they had the absolute best opportunities, the finest education, the most secure and prosperous start in life. I sold the big, comfortable house in the city, the one overflowing with cherished memories of their father, the one where we had built our life together to invest every last cent into their education and their burgeoning futures. I downsized, moving into a smaller, more manageable apartment, telling myself it was a practical, sensible decision. But deep down, I knew it was yet another profound sacrifice, another piece of myself I was giving away. I used the remaining funds, the very last vestiges of my financial security, to help them buy their first homes, to pay for their children's college tuition, my beloved grandchildren, whom I adored with every fiber of my being, and to cover the exorbitant, often unexpected costs of their elaborate weddings. The beach house, the one my late husband and I had built with our own hands, brick by painstaking brick, with so much care, so much love, so much shared laughter and sweat, was our refuge. It was the place where the entire family gathered for holidays, for birthdays, for long, lazy summer vacations. It was my safe haven, a sanctuary where I felt closest to him, where his memory lingered in the salty air, and I truly believed it would be theirs too, a cherished legacy of love, unity, and shared laughter for generations to come. I was the provider, the unwavering counselor, the patient listener, the one they always turned to. The rock, as Ricardo, my eldest, liked to call me, usually right before he asked for another substantial loan or a favor that stretched my already thin resources to their absolute limit. I, Eleanor Grace, was proud of it, of my unwavering capacity to be the pillar, to be the glue that held us all together, to keep the family unit strong and cohesive. But over time, that very rock began to feel less like a solid foundation and more like a mere stepping stone, a convenient platform from which they could launch themselves into their own lives. And they, my children, seemed to climb higher and higher, reaching for their own ambitions, their own desires, without ever once looking back to see if I was still standing, if I was still okay, if I was still breathing under the weight of it all. The visits became less frequent, dwindling from weekly to monthly, then to sporadic, almost ceremonial appearances. The phone calls grew shorter, often ending abruptly with a hurried, "Gotta go, Mom," or a vague, "I'll call you back," and the excuses became more elaborate, more frequent, and increasingly painfully hollow. The first, truly devastating blow, the one that cracked the very foundation of my belief in our family, came at Christmas. I, Eleanor Grace, had spent weeks, not just days preparing for it. The entire house was meticulously decorated, every single ornament placed with loving care, each one holding a precious memory, a whisper of Christmases past. I had baked my famous gingerbread cookies, the scent of cinnamon and ginger filling every room, roasted the turkey to absolute perfection, its golden skin glistening, and prepared a table laden with every traditional dish imaginable, a veritable feast meant for a large, joyful, bustling family, just as I always liked it. I bought the presents months in advance, carefully selecting each one with a specific person in mind, wrapping them with festive paper and shimmering ribbons, imagining the pure, unadulterated joy that would light up my grandchildren's eyes. Ricardo had promised, unequivocally, that he would come with his family, his wife and their 2 children, and Patricia, my daughter, had assured me she would spend Christmas Eve with me, just the 2 of us, a quiet, intimate evening before heading to her in-laws' house on Christmas Day. But on Christmas Eve, as the first delicate snowflakes began to fall outside my window, blanketing the city in a pristine white, Ricardo called. His voice was hurried, almost breathless, overflowing with apologies and an elaborate, convoluted excuse about a last-minute, unavoidable, unforeseen event with his wife's ailing elderly mother. "Mom, you understand, right? It's family. Blood is thicker than water. We simply have to be there for Grandma Helen. It's a huge emergency, completely unexpected. But we'll stop by on the 26th, I promise. We'll make it up to you. We'll have our own little Christmas then," he insisted, his words ringing hollow, devoid of genuine regret. Patricia, in turn, didn't even bother to call. She sent a curt, impersonal text message, claiming a sudden, debilitating migraine had struck, making it impossible for her to leave the house, to even look at bright lights. She promised to visit the next day, on Christmas Day itself. But that visit, like so many other promises they had made over the years, never materialized. I, Eleanor Grace, sat alone at that grand, beautifully set table, the flickering candlelight casting long, dancing shadows, surrounded by an abundance of uneaten food and a mountain of unopened gifts, the silence in the house deafening, punctuated only by the rhythmic, mocking ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. The festive lights, which I had so lovingly strung, seemed to mock me, twinkling with a cruel, ironic glee, illuminating my solitude. I tried desperately to tell myself it was just an unfortunate coincidence, a series of unavoidable circumstances, that they were genuinely busy, that modern family life was simply more complicated, more demanding. But a cold, hard knot began to form in my stomach. A chilling premonition of what was truly to come, a sense of dread that settled deep in my bones. I spent Christmas Day trying to distract myself, calling old friends, watching festive movies, listening to carols, but the hollowness persisted, a gaping, aching void in my chest that no amount of distraction could fill. Ricardo did call on the 26th, briefly, his voice still rushed, to say they were simply too exhausted from their own celebrations to visit, too tired to even make the short drive. Patricia sent another text, a generic, almost impersonal, "Merry belated Christmas, Mom. Hope you had a good one." And that was it. The gifts remained under the tree, a silent, poignant testament to my solitude, to the love that had been offered and left unclaimed, unwanted. I remember looking at the beautifully wrapped boxes, each one chosen with such care, such thought, such hope, and feeling a profound ache. The little toy car for my grandson, the delicate hand-knitted scarf for my granddaughter, the insightful historical biography I knew Ricardo would love, the special, rare tea set for Patricia. Each gift was a small piece of my heart, offered with love, and now they just sat there, unopened, unwanted, a stark, painful reminder of their absence, of their indifference. I even considered driving them over, just to see their faces, to deliver the gifts myself, to force a moment of connection, to beg for their presence. But a quiet, insistent voice inside me, a voice I had often ignored in my eagerness to please, whispered, "No, let them come to you. Let them make the effort. Let them show they care. Let them show they remember you." They didn't. The days that followed Christmas were filled with a quiet, pervasive despair that clung to me like a shroud. I, Eleanor Grace, found myself staring blankly at the television, unable to focus on anything, the festive cheer of the holiday programs feeling like a cruel, mocking joke. The joy of the season had been utterly replaced by a heavy, suffocating cloak of sadness, a profound sense of abandonment that weighed on my soul. I tried desperately to rationalize it, to find every possible excuse for them, to construct elaborate narratives in my mind that absolved them of blame. Maybe they really were overwhelmed with their own lives. Maybe I was being overly sensitive, too demanding, too needy. But deep down, in the quiet, honest corners of my heart, I knew the truth. I felt it in my bones, a chilling certainty that resonated with past experiences. It was a pattern of neglect, a slow, insidious erosion of connection that had been happening for years, subtly at first. But now, in the stark, unforgiving light of the holidays, it had become undeniably, painfully clear. I remembered countless small instances, tiny paper cuts that had accumulated over time, each one seemingly insignificant on its own. Calls unanswered for days, invitations casually declined with flimsy excuses, promises broken with a shrug and a fleeting apology. Each one a tiny crack in the once solid foundation of what I thought was an unbreakable bond, a sacred family unit. I had always dismissed them, telling myself that children grow up, they have their own lives, their own families, their own priorities, and that was natural. But this felt different. This felt intentional. This felt like a deliberate distancing, a calculated withdrawal of affection and presence, a slow, painful severing of ties. The silence in my apartment, once a comforting quiet, now felt oppressive, a constant reminder of my solitude. Then came New Year's Eve. I, Eleanor Grace, had always cherished the tradition of spending it at the beach house. The rhythmic, soothing sound of the waves crashing against the shore, the invigorating, salty smell of the ocean air, the quiet anticipation of a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance for renewal. It was a place filled with the most cherished memories of my husband, of our early years as a young couple, of raising our children there, watching them build sand castles, chase the waves, and laugh with uninhibited joy. It was our sanctuary. I invited them all, explicitly stating that it would be a simple, relaxed gathering. No pressure, no elaborate plans, just us, a quiet family moment to usher in the new year together. I even offered to cook everyone's favorite dishes, to make it as easy and appealing as possible, hoping to entice them with comfort and familiarity, with the promise of shared warmth. Ricardo, however, informed me they had already made plans with friends, a huge, exclusive party at a fancy club, and couldn't possibly back out. "Mom, it's a huge commitment, you know. We already paid for the tickets, and the kids are so excited about the fireworks display there. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing for them. You wouldn't want them to miss out, would you?" he exclaimed, as if my quiet New Year's Eve was somehow an inconvenience, a burden on their grand plans. Patricia, my daughter, claimed she had to work, a last-minute unavoidable shift that couldn't be refused. "It's double pay, Mom. You understand, right? I can't afford to miss it, especially with all the bills piling up. You always taught me to be responsible with money, didn't you?" she said, twisting my own lessons against me. I offered to drive her, to pick her up, to bring her dinner, anything to make it possible for her to join me, even for a few hours. I even suggested she bring her family to the beach house after her shift, no matter how late, that I would wait up for them. She just said with a sigh that sounded more like exasperation than regret, "Mom, it's fine." "Really? You go enjoy yourself. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I'm a grown woman." So I, Eleanor Grace, went. Alone. I drove the familiar route to the beach house, the car feeling emptier than usual, the silence in the passenger seat a heavy, suffocating weight. The beach house, usually bustling with excited preparations and the joyful chaos of children and grandchildren, was eerily silent, cold and unwelcoming, Despite the roaring fire, I finally managed to coax from the old stone fireplace. I sat on the porch, wrapped in a thick blanket, the biting wind whipping around me, and watched the distant fireworks over the ocean, a spectacular display of fleeting beauty, and felt a profound, aching sense of loneliness that permeated every fiber of my being, chilling me to the bone. I called them, one by one, just to wish them a happy new year, to hear their voices, to feel a semblance of connection, a fleeting moment of warmth. Ricardo's phone went straight to voicemail, a generic message playing back his cheerful, carefree voice, a stark contrast to my somber, heavy mood. Patricia answered, but her voice was muffled, distant, clearly amidst a loud, raucous celebration, the sounds of laughter and music echoing in the background. She quickly said she had to go, promising to call me properly the next day, a promise I knew, even as she uttered it, would be broken, just like the Christmas one. The call never came. It was then that the knot in my stomach tightened, turning into a hard, cold stone, heavy and unyielding, a permanent fixture. It wasn't just coincidence anymore. It was a pattern of absence, of carefully constructed excuses, of a growing, undeniable indifference that chipped away at my heart, piece by painful piece, leaving raw, exposed nerves, a constant throb of pain. I started to question everything. Had I spoiled them? Had I made them too comfortable, too entitled, too dependent on my endless generosity? Was my love, my constant presence, my unwavering support, something they had come to take for granted, a bottomless well they could draw from without ever needing to replenish, without ever offering a drop in return? The beach house, once a vibrant symbol of family unity and happiness, now felt like a vast, empty space, echoing with the silence of unspoken promises and shattered dreams. I walked along the deserted beach that night, the cold, damp sand beneath my bare feet, the vastness of the dark, churning ocean mirroring the emptiness I felt inside. The wind whipped my hair around my face, stinging my eyes, and the salt spray felt like tears, but they were tears of anger, not just sadness. Anger at them, for their callous disregard, for their blatant selfishness, but also, and more painfully, at myself, for allowing this to happen, for not setting boundaries sooner, for sacrificing my own happiness, my own life, for people who clearly didn't value it, who didn't even see it. I remembered all the times I had put their needs before my own, the countless sacrifices that now felt like foolish self-neglect, a slow, deliberate erasure of my own identity, my own desires. I had poured my entire being into them, my time, my energy, my emotional reserves, my financial resources, and they had simply moved on, leaving me to pick up the scattered, broken pieces of a life I had put on hold for them, a life that now felt utterly meaningless. The weeks leading up to my birthday in February were filled with a quiet dread, a sense of foreboding that settled deep in my chest. I, Eleanor Grace, turned 75. A significant milestone, I thought. 3/4 of a century. Surely they wouldn't miss this. This was different. This was my day, a day to celebrate my life, my existence. I didn't ask for a lavish party, no grand gestures, just a simple dinner, a quiet celebration with my children and grandchildren, a moment of connection. I even suggested a restaurant they particularly liked, a place with a cozy atmosphere and their favorite dishes, thinking it would make it easier for them, less of a burden, a convenient choice that required minimal effort on their part. I called Ricardo a week before, gently reminding him, trying to sound casual, not desperate, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. He sounded distracted, his mind clearly elsewhere, already formulating his escape. "Oh, right, Mom. Your birthday. Yeah, we'll see. It's a really busy week for us, with the kids' activities and everything. Soccer practice, piano lessons, tutoring. It's non-stop." Patricia was even more vague, her voice tinged with a familiar weariness that always preceded an excuse. "I'll try, Mom. You know how crazy work is right now. I'm swamped with this big project, deadlines are looming, I'm barely sleeping." The day before my birthday, the final blow landed. Ricardo called. His youngest, my grandson, had a major school project due the next day, a huge, complex diorama of the solar system, and they absolutely needed to stay home to help him finish it. It's a huge diorama, Mom. You wouldn't believe it. It's taking up the whole living room. We'll be up all night, I'm sure. You understand, right? Family obligations. The kids come first. I knew it was an excuse. My grandson was bright, capable, and usually finished his projects well in advance, a meticulous child who planned everything. This felt like a convenient fabrication, a flimsy veil over their blatant indifference, a lie designed to avoid spending time with me. Patricia, on the other hand, had a prior engagement she absolutely couldn't reschedule. Something about a high-profile charity gala she had to attend for networking purposes, a crucial step in her career. It's for my career, Mom. You know how important it is to make connections, to be seen in the right circles. You understand, right? It's important for my future, for my family's future. She sent flowers, a beautiful, extravagant bouquet of long-stemmed roses delivered to my door with a generic card that read, "Happy birthday, Mom. Love, Patricia." But flowers don't hug you. Flowers don't listen to your stories. Flowers don't fill the empty chair at the table. I, Eleanor Grace, ate dinner alone, a small, sad meal of microwaved leftovers, the silence in the apartment echoing my loneliness, and watched the evening news, the cheerful anchors a stark, jarring contrast to my somber mood. My phone, which had been so stubbornly silent for months, remained stubbornly so. Not even a quick text from my grandchildren, whom I loved so dearly, to wish me a happy birthday. It was then, looking at my reflection in the darkened window, seeing the lines etched by years of worry, sacrifice, and now profound, gut-wrenching disappointment, that something snapped inside me. The rock, the pillar, the stepping stone. It crumbled, shattering into a million irreparable pieces. I realized I had been living a lie, clinging to a fragile, desperate fantasy of a loving, cohesive family that no longer existed. At least not in the way I had always envisioned it, not in the way I had sacrificed for. My children, my flesh and blood, whom I had nurtured and loved unconditionally, had effectively abandoned me, not with harsh words or angry confrontations, but with a slow, insidious, soul-crushing neglect that was far, far more painful than any argument could ever be. They had taken and taken and taken until there was nothing left for them to extract, no more resources to exploit, no more emotional well to draw from. And then they simply moved on, leaving me behind like an old, discarded piece of furniture, no longer useful, no longer seen. The realization was liberating in a strange, bitter, yet ultimately empowering way. It was the clarity I desperately needed, a blinding flash of truth that cut through years of self-deception. I was alone, yes, but I was also free. Free from the crushing burden of their expectations, free from the constant, soul-crushing disappointment, free to finally put myself first, to prioritize my own well-being, my own happiness, my own peace. I spent that night not crying, not wallowing in self-pity, not drowning in despair, but thinking. Thinking about all the times I had felt small, unheard, invisible, a mere background character in their lives. Thinking about the dreams I had deferred, the opportunities I had missed, the life I had put on hold, all in the name of family, a concept that had become a cage. And I decided, then and there, with a quiet, fierce, unshakable determination, that it was time for a new chapter. A chapter where I was the protagonist, the central figure, the author of my own story, not just a supporting character in their increasingly distant, self-absorbed lives. If you're finding yourself nodding along, feeling that pang of recognition, that familiar ache of being taken for granted, of pouring yourself into others only to be left empty, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps me know I'm not alone in these feelings, and it helps others find stories that resonate, stories that might give them the courage to reclaim their own lives, to find their own voice. The next morning, I, Eleanor Grace, woke up with a profound sense of resolve, a clarity and determination I hadn't felt in years, perhaps ever. The sun streamed through my window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of genuine hope, a spark of possibility. I looked at the beach house, bathed in the soft, golden morning light, its image clear in my mind, and saw it not as a symbol of my past burdens and sacrifices, of the endless giving, but as a tangible potential for my future, a valuable asset that could finally serve me, a tool for my own happiness. It was a valuable property, a place that held so many beautiful memories of a happier time, of my husband, of our shared dreams, but also so much potential for new ones, for a different kind of happiness, a happiness I would define. I thought about my life, about the people who had truly been there for me, not just when they needed something, not just when it was convenient, or when there was a benefit to them, but when I truly needed them, when I was vulnerable and alone, when my spirit was at its lowest ebb. And then a name came to mind, clear as a bell, a whisper of warmth in the cold silence. My great-niece, Clara. Clara was my sister's granddaughter, a bright, compassionate young woman in her late 20s, with a spirit as clear and refreshing as the ocean itself. She was studying environmental science at the local university, passionately devoted to marine life and conservation, and always had a kind word, a genuine smile, and an eager offer to help, never expecting anything in return. She lived modestly, working part-time jobs to support her studies, often spending her weekends volunteering at a local animal shelter, her heart always open to those in need, to the voiceless. She was the one who would occasionally call me just to chat, to ask how I was doing, to share a funny anecdote about her day, never asking for anything in return, never hinting at a favor. She was the one who, when I mentioned feeling a bit down after Christmas, actually showed up at my apartment unannounced, with a homemade cake and a warm, comforting hug, and spent the entire afternoon listening to me, truly listening, without judgment or agenda, offering only comfort, understanding, and a quiet, unwavering presence. She was the one who, despite her own incredibly busy schedule, juggling studies and work, had made the effort to visit me a few days after my birthday, bringing me a small, thoughtful gift, a beautifully illustrated book about coastal ecosystems, knowing my deep love for the ocean, a gift chosen with genuine care, not obligation. She hadn't been able to make it on the exact day, but she had called, apologized sincerely, and made a point of coming as soon as she possibly could, her presence a balm to my wounded spirit, a light in the encroaching darkness. She was the only one who had shown up, not just physically, but emotionally, consistently, when it truly mattered, when I was at my most vulnerable. She didn't ask for anything, didn't hint at any favors, just offered her presence and her genuine affection, her pure, unadulterated love, a love that felt like a lifeline. Her visits were never rushed, never felt like an obligation, never had an ulterior motive. She would sit with me for hours, share stories about her studies and her volunteer work, laugh at my old jokes, and even patiently help me with small tasks around the house, like organizing my overflowing photo albums or helping me navigate the bewildering complexities of my new smartphone. She saw me, truly saw me, not as a source of financial aid or a convenient babysitter, but as a person with feelings, experiences, and a profound need for connection and validation, a person worthy of respect. I, Eleanor Grace, called Clara. Her voice was bright and cheerful, as always, a ray of sunshine cutting through the lingering clouds of my sadness. "Auntie, how wonderful to hear from you. Is everything all right?" she exclaimed, her concern immediate and genuine. I asked her if she could come over, that I had something very important to discuss, something that couldn't wait, something that would change everything. She agreed immediately, without a moment's hesitation, without a single excuse, without a, "let me check my schedule." "Of course, Auntie. I'll be there in an hour, traffic permitting. Is there anything I can bring?" When she arrived, her eyes sparkling with curiosity, her smile warm and inviting, I sat her down in my living room, the same room where I had spent so many lonely, silent evenings contemplating my fate. I looked her directly in the eye, my gaze unwavering, my resolve firm. "Clara," I began, my voice steady, imbued with a newfound strength and conviction. "You know how much this beach house means to me. It's been in our family for generations, a place of immense joy and comfort, a place where we built so many beautiful memories with your great-uncle, a place that holds the very essence of our family's history, our very roots." She nodded, her eyes wide with curiosity, a hint of concern now etched on her sweet, open face as she sensed the gravity of my tone, the weight of the moment. "But lately," I continued, my voice gaining a quiet, resolute strength, "it's become a symbol of something else entirely, of absence, of neglect, of promises unkept and love unreturned. It has become a monument to my solitude, a painful reminder of what I thought I had, but didn't." I recounted, briefly, the raw, unvarnished story of the 3 holidays, the empty chairs at my beautifully set table, the silent phone, the carefully crafted, flimsy excuses, the hollow apologies. I didn't dwell on the bitterness or the pain. I didn't wallow in self-pity, but simply stated the facts, the raw truth of my profound solitude and disappointment, the stark reality of their abandonment. Her expression shifted from curiosity to understanding, then to a deep, genuine sadness, an empathy that warmed my heart and brought a lump to my throat, but no tears. She didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes, didn't try to make excuses for them, just listened intently, her hand gently resting on mine, a silent gesture of comfort and unwavering support that spoke volumes. "And in all of that," I said, my voice gaining strength, my resolve hardening with every word, "you were the only one who truly showed up. Not just for a fleeting moment, not just when it was convenient, but consistently. With your time, your kindness, your genuine care. You saw me, Clara, when others chose to look away, when my own children chose to abandon me, to leave me alone." I took a deep breath, the biggest decision of my life hanging in the air, ready to be spoken, ready to change everything. "So, I've made a decision. I'm giving you the beach house." Clara's jaw dropped. Her eyes welled up with tears, glistening like the ocean on a sunny day, reflecting the light of her pure heart. And she stammered, her voice barely a whisper, filled with a complex mix of shock, overwhelming gratitude, and genuine concern for my relationship with my children, for the inevitable fallout. "Auntie, I don't know what to say. Are you serious? But your children, Ricardo and Patricia, this is their inheritance. This is their birthright. Are you absolutely sure about this? What will they say?" Her humility was striking, her concern for my well-being paramount, even in her shock. I, Eleanor Grace, cut her off, gently but firmly, my voice leaving no room for doubt. "My children made their choices, Clara, and I'm making mine. This house needs life, laughter, and love. It needs someone who will cherish it, not just see it as an inheritance, a mere commodity to be claimed and divided, a source of quick profit. And that person is you. You've shown me more love, more respect, more genuine care, more presence in the past few months than they have in years. You are the family that showed up, the family I choose." We talked for hours, long into the afternoon, as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. I explained the legalities, the responsibilities, the taxes, every single detail that came with such a significant gift, ensuring she understood the full scope of it. She was overwhelmed, but also incredibly grateful and respectful, her humility shining through every word. She understood the immense weight of the gift and the profound pain behind it, the years of neglect that had led to this moment. She promised to take care of it, to honor its history, to fill it with new, joyful memories, and to make it a place where good things happened, a place where family, true family, would always be welcome, a place of warmth and connection. We went to the lawyer the very next week. The paperwork was drawn up meticulously, ensuring there would be no legal loopholes, no ambiguities for my children to exploit, no room for doubt, no possibility of reversal. The transfer was made, swift and decisive, a clean, liberating break from the past. It felt like shedding a heavy, suffocating cloak, a burden I hadn't realized I was carrying for so long, a weight that had pressed down on my spirit for years, stealing my breath. A profound lightness filled me, a sense of liberation and peace I hadn't experienced in decades. It was as if I could finally breathe again, truly breathe, deeply and freely, after holding my breath for so long, waiting for something that would never come. Of course, the news eventually reached Ricardo and Patricia. It wasn't long before my phone, which had been so stubbornly silent for months, began to ring off the hook, vibrating with an almost frantic, desperate urgency it hadn't possessed in years. The calls came relentlessly, one after another, from numbers I recognized, from numbers I didn't, from relatives they had clearly enlisted in their cause. Ricardo called first, his voice laced with disbelief, anger, and a thinly veiled threat, barely containing his seething fury. "Mom, what is this I'm hearing? You gave the beach house to Clara? Are you out of your mind? Have you gone completely senile? That's our inheritance, our birthright. You can't just give away what's rightfully ours. We'll contest this in court. This is illegal." "This is an outrage." His tone was accusatory, venomous, as if I had committed a heinous crime against them, against the very fabric of our family. I, Eleanor Grace, listened calmly, something I wouldn't have been able to do just months ago. The old me would have cowered, tried desperately to explain, to appease, to justify my actions, to beg for their understanding. But the new me was firm, resolute, unyielding. "Ricardo," I said, my voice steady, devoid of emotion, a calm sea amidst his storm. "It was my house to do with as I pleased, and I pleased to give it to someone who actually cares about me, someone who showed up when you didn't. 3 holidays in a row, Ricardo. 3, Christmas, New Year's, my birthday. Where were you? Where were your promises? Where was your presence? Where was your love?" He sputtered, tried to make a whirlwind of convoluted excuses, to gaslight me, saying I was being dramatic, that he was busy, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill, that I was clearly losing my memory and my grip on reality, that Clara had manipulated me. "You're punishing us for being busy. This is unfair. We're your children." "We deserve it. We've always been there for you," he accused, his voice rising to a frantic shout, bordering on hysteria. "No," I replied, my voice unwavering, my conviction absolute. "I'm simply living my life, and I'm rewarding kindness, not entitlement. You had every opportunity to be present, to show your love, to be family. You chose not to. Actions have consequences, Ricardo, and this is one of them. This is the consequence of your choices." He hung up in a huff, the line going dead with a sharp, satisfying click, leaving a sudden, welcome silence in its wake, a silence that felt like freedom. Patricia's call was even more insidious, a masterclass in emotional manipulation and guilt-tripping designed to chip away at my resolve. She started with tears, feigned hurt, her voice trembling as she talked about how much she loved me, how I was breaking her heart, how I was destroying the family, tearing us all apart with my selfish decision. "How could you do this to your own children, Mom? After everything we've been through, all the sacrifices you made for us. Don't you remember all the times I visited, all the calls? All the times I helped you. I've always been your little girl." She conveniently forgot the recent past, rewriting history to suit her self-serving narrative, painting herself as the devoted daughter. I, Eleanor Grace, let her finish, her voice cracking with what sounded like genuine sorrow, but I knew deep down it was a carefully orchestrated performance, a desperate attempt to regain control. Then I calmly stated, my voice clear and firm, leaving no room for misinterpretation. "Patricia, the sacrifices I made were out of love, but love is a two-way street. It requires reciprocity, presence, and genuine care. When I needed you, When I was vulnerable and alone, you weren't there. When I was alone on Christmas, on New Year's, and on my birthday, you were nowhere to be found. Clara was. She showed up. She cared. She was present. She was family. She tried to argue, to twist the narrative, to make me feel guilty, to remind me of all the times she had done me favors, small acts of kindness that now felt like calculated investments, meant to accrue interest. But we're your children. Family comes first. You're supposed to love us unconditionally. This is betrayal. You're abandoning us, she insisted, her voice rising in desperation, bordering on hysteria. Yes, I agreed, my voice soft but unyielding, my conviction unwavering. True family does come first. And Clara proved herself to be true family in a way you two haven't in a very long time. Unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional acceptance of neglect, Patricia. It means setting boundaries for my own well-being, for my own peace, for my own dignity, for my own right to be treated with respect. I ended the call, feeling a profound sense of peace wash over me, a quiet triumph. There was no more guilt, no more longing for their approval, no more desperate need for their validation. Just a quiet, deep satisfaction that I had finally stood up for myself, that I had honored my own worth, that I had chosen my own peace. The fallout was significant, as expected, but surprisingly, manageable. My children stopped speaking to me entirely for a while, a silence that, surprisingly, felt more like a relief than a punishment. It was the quiet I had longed for, free from their demands and their empty promises. They spread vicious rumors among relatives and mutual friends about how I, Eleanor Grace, had lost my mind, how Clara had manipulated me, how I was a bitter, senile old woman who had unfairly disinherited her own flesh and blood. They tried desperately to turn other family members against me, painting me as the villain in their twisted narrative, hoping to isolate me further. But many of my extended family, those who had seen their behavior over the years, those who had witnessed my quiet suffering and their blatant disregard, understood. Some even reached out to me, offering words of support, expressing admiration for my courage, and sharing their own similar stories of family dysfunction and the pain of unreciprocated love. My sister, Clara's grandmother and my closest confidant, called me, crying tears of joy and relief. "It's about time, dear sister," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You deserved so much more than they ever gave you. You've been a saint." Clara, bless her heart, was an absolute rock through it all. She never gloated, never rubbed it in, never used the situation to her advantage, never spoke ill of Ricardo or Patricia. She simply continued to be herself, kind, thoughtful, and genuinely grateful, her humility a stark contrast to their entitlement. She used the beach house responsibly, with a reverence for its history and a clear vision for its future. She sometimes invited me to stay, which I did, enjoying the peace and the company of someone who genuinely appreciated my presence, who sought my wisdom, who simply enjoyed being with me without any hidden agenda. She even started a small marine conservation project there, turning a portion of the property into a research and education center for local students and aspiring marine biologists, fulfilling a dream she never thought possible. Seeing her passion, her dedication, her pure joy in giving back to the community and to the environment brought me more profound happiness and satisfaction than any forced, awkward family gathering ever could. She often sent me photos of the house, vibrant with life, filled with young students learning about the ocean, or with her friends laughing on the porch, the sun setting over the waves, painting the sky in fiery hues. It was alive again, just as I had always wanted it to be, a place of purpose and joy, not just a dusty monument to a fading past. My life has changed dramatically since then, in ways I never imagined possible, blossoming into something richer and more fulfilling. I, Eleanor Grace, have reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with, rekindling dormant friendships that now bring me immense joy. I started taking art classes, painting vibrant landscapes and seascapes that reflect my newfound inner peace, each brushstroke a testament to my freedom. I even joined a lively book club where I discuss literature and philosophy with intelligent, engaging women who challenge and inspire me. I travel more, albeit on a smaller scale, exploring charming local towns, visiting historical sites, and hiking in natural parks I never had time for before. Each new experience a testament to my autonomy and newfound zest for life. I spend my time with people who value me for who I am, for my stories, for my company, for my wisdom, not for what I can provide or what they can extract from me. My relationship with Ricardo and Patricia remains strained, distant, a polite but hollow shell of what it once was. They occasionally send a perfunctory text on holidays, usually a generic message, devoid of warmth, but the deep, emotional connection is gone. And I've come to terms with that. It's a painful truth, a wound that will always carry a faint scar, a reminder of what was lost, but it's my truth, and I own it completely. I learned that sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people you love the most, the ones you have poured your heart and soul into, the ones you believed would always be there. But setting them is essential for your own well-being, for your own peace of mind, for your own right to live a life filled with respect and genuine affection. The beach house, once a symbol of my past burdens and sacrifices, is now a beacon of my future. A testament to the fact that it's never too late to choose joy, to choose respect, and to choose the family that truly shows up. The family you build through shared kindness, unwavering presence, and mutual love. I no longer feel the constant ache of disappointment, the gnawing anxiety of their next demand, the crushing weight of their indifference. Instead, there's a quiet contentment, a profound sense of having reclaimed my own life, my own narrative, my own worth. I've learned that self-love isn't selfish, it's necessary, it's vital for survival. And sometimes, the greatest act of love you can give yourself is to walk away from what no longer serves you, from relationships that drain you and diminish your spirit, even if those relationships are with your own children. It's about choosing yourself, finally, after a lifetime of choosing others. It's about finding your own light and letting it shine. This journey, this painful yet ultimately transformative experience, has taught me invaluable lessons. It has taught me that true family isn't always about blood, about shared DNA or a common surname. It's about presence, about kindness, about mutual respect, about unwavering support, about showing up when it counts, not just when it's convenient or when there's something to gain. It's about the genuine affection and consistent care that transcends biological ties. It's about showing up, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, when someone is vulnerable and needs you most. And sometimes, the greatest, most courageous act of love you can give yourself is to walk away from what no longer serves you, from relationships that drain your energy, diminish your spirit, and leave you feeling unseen and unappreciated, even if those relationships are with your own children. It's about finding your own peace, your own happiness, and building a life surrounded by those who truly cherish you, who celebrate your presence, and who reciprocate your love. It's about understanding that your worth is not tied to how much you sacrifice for others, but to how much you value yourself. If my story resonated with you, if you've ever felt taken for granted, if you've ever had to make a tough, heartbreaking decision for your own peace and well-being, please share your thoughts and your own experiences in the comments below. Your stories matter, and they can help others feel less alone. They can inspire courage and resilience. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more honest, raw, and empowering stories about life, family, and finding your own strength. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are worthy of love and respect, always. You are enough.